We are live in New York City at the 23rd Urbanworld Film Festival. I am Nancy Ruffin, and I am going to be talking to all of your Hollywood faves and checking out what are the new and upcoming movies for 2020. Stick around, we'll be right back. What do you hope audiences get from watching Mixed-ish and the stories that you're going to be sharing?
Obviously, we're going to be talking about race, identity, and then everything in between of wrapped in funny. I think identity is always evolving, and I think a lot of the issues that we talk about today are still, were very relevant in '85, and they kind of come together to now. So it's going to be interesting to go on that roller coaster, and there's kind of something for everybody, and every kind of voice is covered in Mixed-ish. So it's told through a funny prism, but we're tackling some cool issues.
Tell me everything that happened. The first time I visited death row, I wasn't expecting to meet somebody the same age as me. From a neighborhood just like ours. Could have been me, Mama.
Well, I grew up in a poor rural community. I started my education in a colored school, and lawyers came into our community and made it possible for me to go to the public schools. So I understood the power of the law to make radical changes in people's lives, and because I had the opportunity to get these skills, I wanted to use them for other people. We still have huge problems in this country. We have a criminal justice system that treats you better if you're rich and guilty than if you're poor and innocent.
I play Anthony Ray Hinton, a man who was wrongfully accused of a murder in Alabama, and yeah, he was sentenced to death row for 30 years. 30 years of his life he had to spend in that box, you know, waiting for the date, you know, and it was a scary time. He had to lose his mother while he was in there. He is such a strong spirit, because at the end of the day, after all the trials that he had gone through, he was the one to kind of lift everybody within the jail, you know, within the prison, keeping morale high. And it takes a strong person to lose so much and to still be a light to others. Hearing him speak about his mother and how much he loved his mom, I love my mom to death, but to hear him speak, you know, I can tell what type of person. You can look in his eyes and see what type of person he is, and he's mad funny. You know, it's just the fact that he's able to keep his sense of humor after everything he's been through. When you bring up subject matter through the arts that, you know, affects people so heavily, a lot of times people use the movies to escape. Yeah. But if you use your film and use your art to bring up a subject that people need to speak on, to bring it through the arts is a lighter way to do it. You know, you're not so overbearing, or people don't tune you out as much, because by watching it with their own eyes, they're able to get the message themselves, and they're able to reach where you want them to themselves. And so it's just to get people to speak on it, you know, to speak on this change that needs to happen, because the more people that are aware of it, the higher the possibility that change will happen. One of the strongest, you know, gifts that humans have is the ability to inspire others. You can do something that can affect somebody across the world that you've never met, you know, so it's meant to inspire more Bryan Stevensons. You know, Bryan Stevenson is a actual hero, somebody who's actually saving lives, and when you get more people to, you know, be aware of that, you have the chance to inspire, to light a flame that could, you know, stand the test of time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. So tell me a little bit about the role that you play in Just Mercy.
I play a character named Ralph Myers, who, as they'd say in the Bible, bears false witness, and in this case it's in a capital case, and so it puts a man on death row, and my character has to contend with that and maybe do the right thing if he has the courage. This movie is going to expose the frailties and deficiencies of our criminal justice system, particularly as it pertains to African Americans.
The documentary is about our journeys, myself, April Walker, Dapper Dan, and Kirby from Pierre Moss, and the things that we faced along the way, our triumphs, our challenges, our creativity, our gifts, and how we were sort of unsung heroes to the culture, and we're now being celebrated, our stories are being told, and we're able to share what that experience has been like and what our process is. To be a part of anything that Lisa Cortez does, you already know it's going to be deep, it's going to be emotional, and it's going to be amazing.
What was it like making the film? I mean, you really are a legend when it comes to fashion, especially in the hip-hop culture. What was that process, kind of reliving some of those iconic moments with the making of this film?
For me, it was a little challenging because I'm a behind-the-scenes type of person, and so to number one recall and then have to tell the story again, it was like it was a good experience, but it was like, wow, it's like reliving it all over again and seeing things by looking back. Hindsight is 20/20, so it was like, wow, I did do that. I remember when this happened. I remember how I grew from the situation, and so it was emotional.
My hope is that audiences will see that anything is possible if you believe in God, that faith over fear, that if you hustle with muscle and you put in sweat equity, that you will rise. It might not be in your time, but in God's time, it's all going to happen.
Devin, talk to me a little bit about The Birth of Deceit and the role that you play in it.
Well, I play the role of Ogie, and I'm also a producer in the film. It's a psychological thriller. It's about a young girl who returns to her hometown after her parents have died. Along the way, she befriends a woman who knows more than she's willing to let on. By the time she realizes it, her and her friends are fighting for their lives, trying to find the truth.
How much of what's in the story comes from maybe real life experiences that either you've experienced directly or indirectly?
A lot of it. I would say maybe bits and pieces, maybe about 40% of it in terms of the lead is a black woman.
Okay.
Me being a black male, I experienced racism, discrimination in this country, and growing up in a predominantly Caucasian neighborhood, I experienced that. So obviously when you do art or you create a story, you put pieces of you in it.
Right.
So that's what I did with this story, and you'll see that.
And so we're here at the Urbanworld Film Festival. It's
Yes.
the 23rd year of this festival.
Yeah.
And this festival really can catapult films,
Of course.
make them into huge successes.
Yes.
Why is this festival so important, especially for black filmmakers as yourself?
It gives us a platform to tell our story. If we don't help ourselves, nobody will. That's for black, brown, Latino, all of us. So it gives us a platform to showcase it. And when you invest in yourself, the world turns and looks.
Tell us a little bit about the film.
First, I want to tell you about the reception.
Go ahead.
It was off the chain.
Yeah.
We had so much love. People were cracking up, like clapping. We were the last people to talk, and they were clapping. And it felt so great to finally screen it in front of a very large audience like this.
Yeah.
We only screened it once before. It actually won the audience award in the past, and I feel it coming this time too.
Yes.
You can also catch it on HBO.
Yes.
We just got a licensing deal there. It's
Doing
a
big
comedy.
things.
It's an amazing. But I'm gonna let the director here, Alan Alfaro, tell you a little bit about Message Erase.
Go for it.
Message Erase is a short film comedy about a girl trying to make a phone call and she can't seem to get it right. She's just like her repeating the phone call, but it's very relatable and funny and entertaining.
So tell me, what was it like working together on this film?
Well, it's not our first time at the. It's not our first time here.
But yeah, we do things low budget. So like a lot of our stuff is kind of like shoestring budget kind of thing. So it's a lot of favors, a lot of weekends, unpaid kind of weekend sheets.
Yeah.
Put up a lot of her time and money for me, and I'm forever grateful for her. And she keeps me in order, and and she lets me express my voice, but in a way that is organized, because ultimately that organization is what's gonna create great content.
A while ago, an art teacher said to me, why do we paint? Why do we create? And I was like, I don't know why, because I don't know why. He said, to prove we exist. And here we are proving that we exist. For me personally, I align myself with other filmmakers. I'm a director as well, I'm a writer as well, but I take pride in aligning myself with other filmmakers, just like Alan, who are, either underdog, Latino, female, because we got to elevate together.
Hey guys, it's your girl Nancy Ruffin, and we are here at the 23rd Annual Urbanworld Film Festival. Today's day 4, the last and final day of the festival, but we have a lot of great films spotlighting tonight. One of the major ones is Black and Blue, which is starring Tyrese. Also, Megan Good is here making her directorial debut in the film If Not Now, When. We are here with Ron Rico Lee.
There it is. She looked at me like, that's it, I got it right. You got it right. You did good, Nancy. You did good.
So, tell us a little little bit about the First Wives Club. What can audiences expect to see from you on the show?
For me, you know, it ain't about me. This is the First Wives Club. What I can tell you, you're going to see some beautiful women, very talented, very just, you know, Michelle Buteau and Jill Scott and Ryan Michelle back there are just awesome. I just recently, the show was made available on BET Plus on the 19th, and I started streaming it, and I was streaming it this morning as I was eating breakfast. I was really just really in awe of how believable these women as a group. You know, my wife got me into Sex and the City many years ago. Same with Girlfriends, you know, and it was and I was on Girlfriends, but I never really watched the show till me and my wife got together, and it was one of them shows like Sex and the City where, you know, I really enjoyed it, and as a man, I learned so much just watching that show, and I think First Wives Club will do that on a real in-depth level with men as they tune in with their wives, their girlfriends. Maybe they're just trying to figure some things out. Check out First Wives Club.
Tell us about your role in the First Wives Club.
I play the character Khalil. Khalil's a music producer. Best friend to Hazel, played by Jill Scott. Hazel's kind of lost her way a little bit as far as her passion for the music, so Khalil helps her find her way to a passion, and through the music they wind up having a small romance.
And what attracted you to this role in particular?
Well, you know, the key word I say is cast.
Right.
I was cast in the role, and just being a working actor, anytime you get a chance to be creative, you want to take it on. And then once I found out women and Mark and Ron Rico and Malik and all the guys that were in the film, you know, I wanted to be a part of that.
This is Frankie Smith. Tell us a little bit about the film.
The film follows Naomi Harris, who plays a rookie cop, and on her first day she witnesses corruption within her police force. So she tries to expose that corruption. I think the biggest thing is to also understand there are definitely good cops and there are bad cops. I don't want to be a part of, you know, generalizing an entire police force, because there are some people that literally wake up to protect their communities, and people have to understand, you know, cops are humans just like anyone else. They could be either good or bad. I hope this sheds a light and lets people know not every cop is bad, and when there is that corruption, we should, you know, make a stand to expose that, to get the people that should not be policing our streets off of our streets.
We out here. Oh, y'all better stop. Y'all ain't taking pictures, right? Stop playing. Come on, man. You better tag yourself right now. Videos. I love y'all. I have to go introduce the movie. It means everything to me that y'all are here. God bless you. No one's gonna know about this movie until y'all create the energy and excitement that we need. Naomi Harris is amazing. What's up, the story you missing? Police corruption, like no more.
Ultimately, I feel like we don't have those films like we used to have back in the 90s. Waiting to Exhale, Women of Brewster Place, Set It Off, that made you feel like, oh, I see myself. You know, and not someone who's like a lot older than me, but I see myself in this person, and I'm watching her walk away from this relationship, or I'm watching her go after this thing. Oh, so I can do anything I want. Or if this relationship isn't right, I should leave. And so to be able to do a drama and to deal with very specific things that women deal with, like infertility, or do I want to be a mother even though everyone says I should, or what happens when the love of your life, you know, is cheating on you or dealing with alcoholism, what happens when you're dealing with drug addiction, you have a 15-year-old. These things are touched upon, but they're never fully explored, and this film really explores that, so I'm super proud of it.
So we should watch this.
You should watch this.
We screened the film in Anonymous Love.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. It's a romantic comedy. It's a short film about a man in his mid-20s and a woman in her mid-40s, and then navigating a casual relationship. So he's the one who actually wants to date her serious, like for real, and she just wants to keep it casual.
She just wants friends with benefits.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think that's an interesting story to tell, right? Because we're flipping the script in a sense, where we usually see, you know, the older men with the younger girls, and in this case, you know, it's the other way around. So how is it playing that dynamic?
Well, for me, it was a little bit of a challenge, but I think it was great because as a grown-ass woman, excuse me, can I say that?
Yeah, you can say we grown, girl. We are grown.
As a grown-ass woman, I tend to date people older, and so hearing that And I know people who do, women who date men who are younger. I actually have a good friend who just married a man who's maybe 10, 11 years younger than she is. And this is a conversation that needs to be told, that needs to happen, and we need to see it on film.
Is this inspired by like any real life story? Because we know that art often imitates life, right?
So I don't think we have the time to tell the joke I normally tell, because I normally say I've dated a 75-year-old woman, and then people are like, really? And then I'll commit to that for a minute, and then I'm like, nah, I'm just joking. So no, it is not. It's not based upon a true story, but it's inspired by just thoughts I've had where it's like I got to a certain age where I was like 25, 26, and I was like, oh, women in their 40s look great.
We sure do, honey.
What?
Thank you.
You're not in your 40s.
Yes, I am.
It's a show called Serena and Mel, and it's based on our real life friendship. It's about two polar opposite brown girls living their lives. We're like a modern day brown Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, throwback.
So what inspired you to create this web series?
She just made me laugh a lot. And I like her because she laughs at everything I say. So we were like, we should put this on something. So we started doing like comedic sketches online, and then that just turned into a web series. But we had to make it because we went out to pitch it. People didn't get it. They're like, we already have a show with Asians. We're like, that doesn't mean anything.
Different kind of Asian. Not Asian.
Yeah.
Not every Asian is the same.
There's clearly room for more than one.
Yes.
And so then we're like, you know what? Let's just make it. So we made it. She was 7 months pregnant during the time. And not now.
Yeah.
Not now.
Yeah.
When we filmed.
Well, I've had 2 kids and my stomach is not as flat as that.
You look good. Yeah, you look great.
Thank you. So really quickly, where online can the audiences go and check your stuff out?
So you can follow us on social media at Serena and Mel.
So how was it for each of you to be a part of this?
I mean, first of all, the script was hilarious, but then when you get to be working with people who are equally funny, it's just so easy. So I think it was just a blessing to, get to have fun at work.
And what's your name? We want people to know who you are.
Hi, I'm Rima Sampa, and I play
her on Orange is the New Black, the last 2 seasons of Orange.
Oh, yes. Okay,
yes.
see? How she's plugging me.
Yes, I know. I'm on Orange is the New Black.
There you go. And your name?
Nick Sidnani. How you doing?
And you, sir?
I'm Leighton Samuels.
Okay, well, it was a pleasure to chat with you guys. Much success. I look forward to seeing all of you, in future projects.
Thank you so much.
Bye. You're welcome.
So the project is called Cheer Up Charlie. I'm the director, and it's about a 14-year-old looking white girl who sells weed to pay for her mother's medical bills.
Oh, wow. So what inspired you to make this film, tell this story?
So I created it.
Oh, you created it, and you directed it.
Yes, and I wrote
Are you 14?
Do you think I am?
You could be 14. Yes.
No, I'm not. No, I am of age. But my co-writer Holiday and I, we started the series because we thought of the character first. We thought it would be funny, and then we added a lot of depth because we wanted to see like young 20-year-olds going through really adult stuff on screen. So that's why we brought it to fruition.
And I mean, was it inspired by any real life experiences?
So I do not sell weed, but my freshman year of high school, my family did go into a place where we were paying a lot of my mother's medical bills, and she is healthy as can be now, but the show was really exploring kind of that journey I went through at 14 years old, kind of just like 5 years later, kind of really starting to work through that.
What was that like for you? Not so much in you're not selling drugs, you weren't selling drugs.
I wasn't.
But to be faced with something as, personal as your mom being sick and the stress of medical bills, I'm sure, how that affected your family. How did you manage to kind of navigate through that at 14 years old?
Well, my dad is one of the best people on earth, and he really held down the fort. I think for me, it was a lot of actually really pressing it down at the time, and then writing this show was me starting for the first time to explore what I actually felt when I was 14. When I was there, I was pressing it down. I was going to school. I was helping take care of my brother, and then, allowing myself to open that up again, I think is why the show is so personal and so potent.
And so how did your parents receive the film?
Okay, at first, when I told them I wanted to make a show about a drug dealer, they were a little skeptical. But then they ended up being producers on set with us.
Oh, that's amazing.
They came and they worked on the film. They helped us they got us the prop weed. And they helped a lot. They really love it.
My name is Jimmy Jean-Louis, and I'm here with the movie D'Errance, which is in competition for best movie in the world category, and I'm the lead actor.
And I'm Apolline Traoré. I'm the director of the film.
So can you tell us a little bit about the film?
Yes, it's called D'Errance, and it has two major stories talking about, in the story. The first is really how civil war can destroy a country and actually destroy a human being. And the second story, which is the main story of the film, is a relationship between a father and a daughter showing her father that she cannot be a boy because that father wanted so much to have a boy, and she wants to prove to her father that she can be as strong and as intelligent and as of a boy. So this is actually a little bit what's happening with the film.
It's pretty much the position of a woman, of a girl in society. You know, it's like why is it
the struggle of what it means to be a woman, right?
Pretty much. And also, why do the kids have to carry the name of the dad and not of the mom? Who dictated that? And what does it mean for the kids? What does it mean for a woman?
Yes.
You know, not to be able to carry her own legacy. So we tackle this kind of subject matters, and essentially it's also a drama, and it's a big movie, but we center it within the life of a family. So yeah.
Short film Substance, which is a 3D animation. My name is Trinity, representing Jamal Bradley. This is my husband Butter, who's the composer on the film. My son Zion, who is our future animator. He tells me, but I'm animating now, so that's why he's walking this red carpet.
He's learning.
He's ready. Yeah,
yes.
he is an animator. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the film.
Well, it is a true story of two brothers, Jamal Bradley and his brother. Jamal Bradley is a writer-creator, about how one brother had a dream and another brother lost his dream, and what happens when that happens. What can happen to the next generation if the generation before it loses hope. And so it is a different animation because it brings the community to bear. Nobody's going to turn into a bird and fly away. This animation stays in the community and deals with community issues, and I like to call it an icebreaker to figure out what is happening in our communities, why are some things still happening, and what can we do to change them. Also, it involves Jamal Bradley, who worked on Penguins, Madagascar, Boss Baby. Also, Bruce W. Smith, who created the Proud Family. Butter, who also was a composer on the Proud Family, as well as he's a composer on Raven's Home. But also, he's a hip-hop producer for Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and Aaliyah. So it's a great film because it leaves it open for your own interpretation. There's no dialogue in it. So the music and what Butter and a writer by the name of Scotty did is phenomenal because it doesn't beat you over the head with what you should think. It still leaves it open enough for what could be and what's happening in your own interpretation.
I'm Nancy Ruffin with the Nancy Ruffin Show. Can you tell us a little bit about your film?
Yeah, my film is called Bradford Young, Cinema is the Weapon, and it's about the very esteemed cinematographer Bradford Young, who's recently done When They See Us. Son Selma was Oscar nominated for The Arrival. I met Bradford when he was in London filming Star Wars, and I was able to secure the interview with him, and he talks about the films that he has learned from the most, such as Selma, but he also talks about the people that have inspired him and people that are from the arts. So you have black cinematographers like Arthur Jaffa, Malik Saeed, but you also have black painters such as Chris O'Feely from the UK, Lynette Yiden Bankalay, and then you have writers as well. So he goes across the whole sort of arts sector, and it's really fantastic just hearing what he has to say and his philosophies.
So how long did it take you from inception, right, of the idea to do this to today, to being here?
2 years.
2 years? Well, that's not that long.
It's 2 years for an 8-minute short.
Well, okay, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, you're so beautiful.
Thank you, you're beautiful. These earrings.
Thank you. All right, so your name is?
Kira Jones.
Kira Jones,
Yes.
and you're representing which?
The Right Swipe.
Is that a film?
It's a web series.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about the web series.
Yeah, so it follows two best friends, India and Margot, as they start a business where they fix men's dating profiles, kind of like a renovation service, but then they kind of end up screwing up their own love lives in the process. So it's an intersectional feminist romantic comedy.
And what inspired you to create this web series? Was it based on any real life experiences?
Definitely based on some. I've been on a lot of dating app dates. Most of them, my friends are like, I don't know why you like attract so many like strange people on dating apps. It must be maybe so I can have like writing material. So some things are based on my real life, but we also like talked a lot to our friends of other identities, you know, trans people, queer people, you know, black women and Asian men have the least amount of matches on dating apps, so we focus on that a little bit. And we talked to our friends about their experiences and kind of wove it all together to make something that felt representative to the people we share community with. So.
And how does it feel to have your web series screen at a festival like Urbanworld?
It's been a really amazing experience. I think this has definitely been my favorite film festival experience, just being with so many creators, particularly of color, and our block had so many strong projects that were so different from one another. And to even be in the same room as like Tyrese and Megan Good and us all kind of doing the same thing and making our own projects and like putting ourselves out there, it's been really affirming and really inspiring.
Washington Kirk.
Yes, ma'am.
And so talk to me about the project that you're representing here today.
Sure. The project is Frederick Douglass Boulevard, aka Food and Drink Boulevard, aka FDB.
Okay, I love that.
It's a television series about one man's ambivalence, we'll call it, at the gentrification of Harlem and the ludicrous scheme he concocts to degentrify.
So talk to me, I guess, about your own personal experiences with gentrification, because we're seeing it all around. I mean, I go to church in Harlem,
sure.
So I see it every Sunday when I'm walking.
The tourists coming in. And,
so what is that like for you who lives there? You're in it.
Well, you know, when I first moved to Harlem, well, even prior to moving to Harlem, I mean, I think it looms very large in the imagination of many, if not most, African Americans. You know, it's the most famous black neighborhood in the world. And when I first moved here, I got to say, it was shocking, but also refreshing. I would walk around for blocks and blocks and blocks and be surrounded by my people, and I would not see a white face, that was new to me. This kid that grew up in a predominantly white suburb in Northern Virginia, you know what I mean? And let's just say it's no longer that.
Yeah.
You know, it's no longer that.
My name is Eli Jacobs Fantausi. I'm the director producer of Bacoso.
This is about Afrobeats, right? Yes. Okay. Yes, because let me tell you, I'm Puerto Rican, so. Yes. Okay. So talk to me about this film.
I think first place this film is about make justice with the history.
Come closer.
Make use about the history of the culture of Cuba. Part of the history of Cuba that is not tell still. So Eli Fantausi, DJ Hiwe, the whole One Para crew, the Khalid, my homie, they made this possible. It's about to tell the story about how the connection between Africa and Cuba is still alive in this time. It's not only the past story thing about slave and stuff. It's not only the sad part. It's the new generation of connection about the student that is coming to Santiago de Cuba to study, I don't know, in college and stuff like that.
Right.
And they bring their culture with them, and how this culture is accepted in our city, in our country, because the roots that is already based on that. It's the foundation of the new generation of musicians in Cuba. DJ Hiwe is one of the #1, the best DJ right now, musicians, and he is the icon of the
film.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the common point between the tradition and the new generation. So I'm so honored to be part of the film, to be part of the musician and artists like Oscar Delgado is one of the main stars of Bacoso, Michael El Padrino. So El Inca, it's a whole movement.
Well, being Boricua, Puerto Rican, it was like, what is similar to our culture in Puerto Rico? The most similar thing in the world is Cuba.
Yeah.
And so going to Cuba really inspired me and inspired us to want to tell the story of how African diaspora is being represented in the Caribbean. Santiago is different than Havana. It's closer to Haiti and Jamaica. It's part of like telling the story of pan-Caribbean identity through music and through connecting us to our legacy of being of African descent.
What do you hope audiences take from this film?
I hope that they take away, one, that there's amazing music coming out of Cuba, that you got DJ Huey Cameroon and a bunch of other artists, but also to remember and be proud of our African ancestry. And it's a current, that our connection is not a thing of the past, that is something happening right now, and it will continue.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.